Hello everybody, welcome back to the weekly video to talk about what's coming up this Sunday for our sermon. And man, is Romans chapter 5, just a doozy of a chapter. I want you to read chapter 5 because that's where we're going to be. I don't know, it seems like every week I kind of say that this is the chapter when it really kind of kicks off. Paul's talk about righteousness, but boy, is chapter 5 just, once you read it, you're going to see what I mean. Maybe you already have read it. This is when he finally brings up Jesus, how Jesus plays a role in us being made right, what our faith in Jesus actually is in. So if you think way back to chapter 1, Paul talked about this thing called the good news, the gospel, right? As we call it today. And the question there is, what did that mean? And I explained back then that I believe what Paul means by the good news is that Jesus is who he says he is, that he is precisely the person that God sent to bring about, to setting to right what is wrong in the world, and that's good news, right? That God fulfilled his promises. Jesus is the answer, to those promises, those questions. God, what are you going to do? Now, Paul makes it completely explicit. Jesus is exactly that, what I've just explained, and this is why I think Paul means this by good news, because this is what he says. Jesus is how we're made right with God, and that is the best news the world could hear. And so for Paul, he tips his hand early on, and now he's really getting into fleshing out. Here's how all this works. Here's why I said all this before. And so Romans chapter 5 is really fascinating. He brings in, again, last week in chapter 4, we looked at this great patriarch Abraham. What did Abraham have to do with this idea of being made right, of righteousness? And now Paul's going to talk about Adam. And what does Adam have to do with being made right, with righteousness? And then what does Christ have to do with that? So I really encourage you to read chapter 5, dig into it, see what it has to say. What is Paul saying in chapter 5? And of course, we're going to explore that together on Sunday morning in my sermon. Way too much for me to cover, though. I mean, you already know that. I'm not going to get to it all. So that's why I want you to read. I want you to make it your own, and not just the parts that speak to me that I want to talk about. So Romans chapter 5, I'm really excited to dive into this with you. Righteousness, again, takes on new shape, new form, this whole new life whenever we read it the way that Paul is talking about it, and not just some way that we want to read it, but really to take Paul at his word and to listen to what he says about righteousness. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. I really hope that I get to see you all on Sunday. But regardless of whether I do or not, I just want you to have a blessed week. And so go with God this week, have a good week, and be prepared for a good time on Sunday to be together. All right, I'm going to sign off on that, and I will talk to you again next week.